Well, it is a pretty cold night. It's about 40 degrees in my garage right now, so kind of terrible to work in right now, but got to keep trudging away at this thing and try to knock out some stuff. So I'm going to get started on the rear stays right now. So I just finished up welding all of these today, so that was in that video that I posted a couple days ago, but now I'm going to get started on these back stays. So initially I thought I was going to wait till tomorrow, but I've got a couple of hours before I need to go to bed, so try to knock out these because they should be easy bars to make. We'll see though. So I've already talked about the rules, I think, in my roof bar video when I talked about my design that I was choosing for that and how that correlates to which backstay that you actually choose. So here's the paper. I've got it again just so I can go over it. But it doesn't really matter what design you choose. You still have to do the rear bars that go straight back. So they join up within 4 inches of where your X meets, and they go straight back to your reinforcement plates. And the rules specifically state that if you have a car with rear strut towers like I do, that's where the plates have to actually go. Now if you don't have, or if you have a car that doesn't have those type of mounts, there are other rules that apply to that, but you'd have to look those up because I don't really remember them. And those are in the actual FIA rules. This is like the NASA rally rules, so they don't include every little detail that you actually need to look up. So it helps to look at both while you do it, but they kind of like make it a little bit more dummy friendly with their diagrams and whatnot on making the cage. So it's good for me. Anyway, so the first bars that I'm going to start on are obviously those straight bars. Those should be pretty easy to make. And then I'm going to be doing the inverted V. So the V comes to a point at the top where I have my V roof bars going, and then they go and they connect within 4 inches of the mainstays in the back. And then I'm also going to be running from the bottom of the main hoop up to the plates in the rear strut towers. That is an optional reinforcement that you can do if you want to. I am choosing to do it, so but it's not required as per the FIA rules. I am going to also add in a strut brace that goes between the 2 strut towers as well. But I'll be plating that at a different time once I actually finish the cage, because it's going to be independent of the cage. I mean, it's essentially going to be tied in, but it's independent of actually making the cage, and I could just make it from the trunk anyway, so I don't need to worry about it now. And I'm going to get started. I'm going to get the rough distance that I need for the 2 tubes. They should be similar as long as my cage is square, which it doesn't look like it is, but it's off a little bit. Not gonna lie, it's not perfect. It's probably like 1/8 of an inch difference, but whatever. It's still good. Anyway, I'm gonna get the rough distance, and then we're gonna make these cuts on the 2 tubes before it gets too late, and I have to be quiet in my garage. Anyway, so the only rule that I have to actually follow is be within 4 inches of the mounting point for the X. That way you get more of a node and there's not just bars spread out welded in all these different places. The closer the bars are together and actually welded to the joints, the more the forces are actually going to be like evenly spread out between all of them in case there's an impact. So I think I've talked about that before in my other videos probably a few times, but that's the plan for right here. So I'm just going to get the rough measurement and then we'll cut them out. And after going back and forth quite a few times on both bars, I got them both in there. So I just went slowly grinding away material to get the angle right, because it's a weird angle that the plate's at, because it angles like up, but also inward. So you have to like just slowly get that angle with like a flap disc, or like I was using my bench grinder, It's not really something that you can just cut into it at a certain angle. But eventually got in there, just tacked them in there. I just tacked them to the base plate, so they're just friction fit against the actual main hoop right now. So I'm gonna get started, grab some measurements for the V. It's a pretty simple design. It has to be straight. You can't put any bends or anything like that into it because that's just gonna add a weak point to the bar. So straight bar, and then we're gonna have 2 notches, one here, and then the other one down there is gonna be a little bit different because it's meeting up at a pretty extreme angle, because I want it to join up for a while on this tube, so it's gonna be kind of a weirder notch, but we'll get it done and keep moving along. That's probably the best fitment I've gotten yet on any bar on the first try. It's still not perfect and I gotta remove a little bit more, but that's cool. Maybe I'm actually like figuring out how to do this and I won't waste as much time messing up all these bars, or at least taking forever because I leave so much excess on there. But I gotta get rid of, it looks like a 1/4 inch, but I do have to clean up both of the notches first, and then I'll see how those look. Because that'll actually get it to fit a little bit better. Yeah, so I'll just clean those up real quick and then keep trimming and then make the other side. Driver's side is done. I got it all cleaned up and it fits really well. I'm really happy with how that notch fits, as well as this one up here. I don't know if you can tell, but there's pretty much no gaps, which is awesome. And I didn't really have to do much to it, so everything turned out good with that. It's pretty much right in the center of the main hoop. So now just need to transfer over what I made this one with to another one, and knock out the passenger side. Both bars are in. That second bar was really easy. That was really nice. These 2 bars, actually all 4 of them, have been pretty easy, which is great. I really could use some decently easy bars to make, but they came out pretty good. As you can see, they're pretty much like right there in the center. I'll show you on the inside too, but they're pretty much like lined up perfectly with the counterpart that they need to be. So those are decent nodes. Going down there, there's a good node connection, and then there's going to be the 3rd bar that I still have to make, coming from here up to that connection, and that'll be the final one that I make for the rear. Actually, I think I'm going to make a strut brace between these 2 nodes going across. I might do that later though, after I actually weld all these in. There's no reason that I need to do it now because I'll be able to get at that pretty easily later on. So I haven't really been talking about everything that I've been doing with these bars because they are pretty straightforward and simple to do. Now, if there's some reason that you wanted to see something that I did that I didn't show, just let me know. I'll try to explain it if you need that. But I could understand that if you're like trying to build a cage and trying to figure out as much as you can before you actually get there. So I'll try to expound on that if that's what you guys want. Anyway, these bars really are pretty straightforward and pretty easy to do. The only thing that was a little bit different were the notches that I did in the rear portion of the V, only because it wasn't a normal notch. So I left one side of the tube completely untouched by the hole saw, and then just kind of notched the one side a little bit so it could sit up against the tube. So not like a normal cope joint, but it's got really good fitment, and I'm happy with it. So it's going to be welded pretty solidly to the tube and also the plates on the strut tower. So next step, starting onto the lower bars going from the main hoop up to the strut tower. So they're going to come from here up until they meet up with the other two bars. Now this is an optional bar. You don't have to have it as per the FIA rules. It's just an optional support bar that a lot of people add because it ties in the cage feet just one more location. And if you tie in to the front strut towers with like intrusion bars that are like required on FD cars, so if you run that bar from the rear strut towers down to the cage feet, and then you run your sill bar over, and then from there you pick up a bar that goes to your front strut tower. It essentially completely connects all four strut towers together. But it is going to be a pain to weld, because if you look at that location, it's going to be kind of crappy to get the TIG in there. But I'll be able to figure it out. It's only those two that'll be really difficult to weld, so I'll just take my time, slowly get in a comfortable position, and then weld it into place. But I'm going to start measuring them, so that way we can get these things cut out. Maybe I can get all 6 of these bars done in one night. That'd be pretty cool in like 3 hours of working. Well, this is the bar for that side, and part of the way through, when I went to go check the fitment, I was like, oh crap, I didn't account for the slant of like how the strut tower kind of like caves in or curves in a little bit. So that didn't fit at all over there because I accounted for it wrong. And then I was like, oh crap, wasted that tube. And then lo and behold, try it on this side and it fits perfect. So that's awesome. I didn't waste anything. Now I just got to make the side that I actually started on really quick. So I'll take these dimensions and then just make sure that I get that slant right for the strut tower. That way we can get the fitment good on the first try. Yeah, but almost done. 5 bars done in, it's been about 4 hours. That's probably the best I've ever done. Usually it's like 4 hours for 1 bar and I got to redo it 3 times after that. So let's keep trucking along on this. Well, it fits in there pretty good right now. It's just really tight and it's kind of pushing the cage out because this box isn't tacked in right now. So I'm going to get rid of a little bit more for this bar to actually sit in. That way it can sit up a little bit and release some of that tension. And I'll actually tuck it up a little bit closer when I do that, so that'll be nice. So I'll just get rid of that and it should fit. All of them fit. I still have to, I'm gonna have to play with some of them a little bit more. Like this one just needs a little bit more material removed because it's kind of pushing the cage out over here. But it's pretty good. I could actually probably like just kind of force it and get it to work. But everything fits really well. I'm really surprised that I got all this done in one night. Actually, it was like 5.5 hours. I'm surprised that I got all that done. Well, I have to get up in like 6 hours for work, but I'm really happy that I got all that done. So that definitely helped catch up after my little injury and losing a couple days because of that. So that's awesome. I had a nice list and I can cross off 3 things off of that. So that's a good night for me. It's pretty satisfying when I get to like cross things off, especially 3 in one night. So that's great. Definitely really happy how they look. I am going to trim them just a little bit more before I do the final welding. Tomorrow I'm going to drop the cage one more time because I want to do these optional windshield bars. So they go from here up to the roof bar, and it's just like an extra support for the roof, more than just this one location for the windshield bar to actually tie into the front laterals. So I'm gonna do those. They're just a small little tube, and like I said, it's not necessary, it's just an optional piece of tubing, but I think that it would be a good idea to throw that in there, just in case I ever do have like a hard rollover or anything like that. That way it's just not all on that one joint, and it can be a little bit more of a spread loaded impact, but it's definitely moving along pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the progress. So do those bars tomorrow. I need to knock out the sill bar, so I'll probably do those and the sill bar in one day, and then move on to the wheel intrusion bars in the front, and then the dash bar, and slowly coming together. Hopefully I can be done. I still want to be done in like a week and a half. So today is, I don't even know, today is 6th or 7th, and I'd like to be done probably around mid of next week, if that's even possible. So about a week from now. There's a lot of work done, or a lot of work to do before then, so I doubt it'll happen. So maybe the end of next weekend I can get done with the cage. That'd be awesome. Definitely looking forward to being done with the cage and moving on to the front end, as long as I finish this in enough time. Plan is to start on the front end, figuring out what I want to do with it. I picked up some steel and whatnot to possibly start making a tube front end. But anyway, that's far in the future. I gotta go to bed, shower and whatnot. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Like I always say, it's kind of cheesy that I say that all the time. But yeah, you guys have a good night.